Hello, everyone. Welcome back to our channel and to another episode of Learning English with Podcast, the place where we make mastering English fun and easy. I'm your host, Julia, and I'm so happy to have you here. If you're new, this podcast is designed to help you improve your English by listening to real conversations. Today, we're diving into a topic that many beginners find challenging but incredibly rewarding: English pronunciation. Whether you're just starting your English journey or looking to polish your skills, this episode is for you. Pronunciation is the key to being understood and understanding others. It's not just about getting the words right. It's about sounding natural and confident. Think about it. When you pronounce words correctly, you feel more confident, and people can understand you so much better. That's why we're dedicating this entire episode to helping you master the basics of English pronunciation. Now, I know English pronunciation can seem tricky. With all those different sounds, silent letters, and confusing exceptions, it's easy to feel overwhelmed. But don't worry. We're going to break it down step by step, starting with the basics and moving on to more advanced tips. By the end of this episode, you'll have a solid foundation to build on. But before we dive in, don't forget to hit that subscribe button and turn on notifications so you never miss an episode. And hey, if you find this episode helpful, give it a big thumbs up and share it with your friends who are also learning English. All right, let's get started. Part 1. The importance of listening. Let's start with one of the most important aspects of improving your pronunciation: listening. You might be wondering, Julia, how does listening help me speak better? Well, the truth is, you can't pronounce words correctly if you've never heard them spoken correctly. Listening is the foundation of good pronunciation. When you listen to native speakers, you don't just hear words, you feel the rhythm, the rise and fall of their voices, the way some words are emphasized while others gently fade. In English, we don't pronounce every syllable with the same weight. Some syllables stand out, strong and clear, while others flow softly in between. Imagine the melody of a song. Some notes are louder, some are quieter, but together, they create harmony. By truly listening, really tuning in, you'll start to feel these patterns, absorb them naturally, and bring them into your own speech with confidence. So, where can you find good listening material? Start with podcasts like this one, YouTube videos, or even English songs. Watch movies or TV shows with subtitles and pay attention to how the actors pronounce words. The more you listen, the more familiar you'll become with the sounds of English. Another great tip is to listen to the same material multiple times. Repetition is key. The first time, you might focus on understanding the meaning. The second time, pay attention to the pronunciation. By the third or fourth time, you'll start to internalize the sounds and rhythms. And don't forget to practice active listening. This means really focusing on what you're hearing, not just letting it play in the background. Try to repeat what you hear, even if it's just a word or a short phrase. This will help you train your ear and your mouth to work together. Remember, listening is the first step to speaking well. So, make it a daily habit to listen to English in some form. Over time, you'll notice a huge improvement in your pronunciation. Part 2. Mastering vowel sounds. Now that we've talked about listening, let's move on to one of the trickiest parts of English pronunciation: vowel sounds. English has a lot of vowel sounds, and they can vary depending on the word and the accent. But don't worry, we're going to break it down step by step.
First, let's talk about short and long vowels. Short vowels are quick and crisp, like the A in cat or the E in bed. Long vowels are stretched out, like the A in cake or the E in sea. The difference between short and long vowels can change the meaning of a word, so it's important to get them right.
For example, take the words ship and sheep. The only difference is the vowel sound. Ship has a short I sound, while sheep has a long E sound. If you mix these up, it could lead to confusion. So, practice saying these pairs out loud. Ship and sheep, bit and beat, full and fool. Another challenge is diphthongs, which are combinations of two vowel sounds in one syllable. For example, the word coin has a diphthong. It starts with an O sound and glides into an I sound. Other examples include house, time, and boy. To practice vowel sounds, try using minimal pairs, words that only differ by one sound, like bat and bet or cut and caught. This will help you train your ear and your mouth to distinguish between similar sounds. Finally, don't forget to use a mirror when practicing. Watch how your mouth moves and compare it to videos of native speakers. This visual feedback can be incredibly helpful in mastering vowel sounds. Vowel sounds might take some time to get right, but with consistent practice, you'll see progress. Keep at it and don't be afraid to make mistakes. That's how we learn. Part 3. Tackling consonant sounds. Next up, let's talk about consonant sounds. While vowels can be tricky, consonants have their own challenges, especially for beginners. Some consonant sounds in English don't exist in other languages, which can make them difficult to pronounce. One common challenge is the th sound, as in think or this. Many learners substitute it with a T or D sound, but it's important to get it right. To make the th sound, place your tongue between your teeth and blow air out. Practice saying words like thing, this, mother, and bath. Another tricky sound is the R sound, especially for speakers of languages where the R is rolled or tapped. In English, the R sound is made by curling the tip of your tongue slightly back without touching the roof of your mouth. Practice saying words like red, car, and tree. Don't forget about the V and W sounds, which are often confused. The V sound is made by placing your top teeth on your bottom lip and vibrating your vocal cords, as in very. The W sound is made by rounding your lips, as in water. Practice saying pairs like vet and wet or vine and wine. Finally, pay attention to consonant clusters, groups of consonants that appear together, like STR in street or SPL in splash. These can be challenging, but breaking them down into smaller parts can help. For example, practice saying SD first, then add re to make street. Consonant sounds might feel awkward at first, but with practice, they'll become second nature. Remember, it's all about training your mouth to make new movements. Keep practicing and you'll get there. Part 4. Word stress and syllables. Now that we've covered vowels and consonants, let's talk about another crucial aspect of pronunciation, word stress. In English, not all syllables in a word are pronounced with the same emphasis. Some syllables are stressed, while others are softer.
For example, take the word photograph. The stress is on the first syllable, photograph. But in the word photography, the stress shifts to the second syllable, photography. Getting the stress right is important because it can change the meaning of a word or make it harder for others to understand you. So, how do you know which syllable to stress? Unfortunately, there's no one-size-fits-all rule, but there are some patterns you can look for. For example, in two-syllable nouns and adjectives, the stress is usually on the first syllable, as in table or hat pie. In two-syllable verbs, the stress is often on the second syllable, as in relax or begin.
Another tip is to listen carefully to how native speakers pronounce words. Pay attention to which syllable they emphasize and try to mimic it. You can also use a dictionary to check the stress pattern of unfamiliar words. Practicing word stress can feel a bit like singing. Try exaggerating the stressed syllable at first to get a feel for it. For example, say photograph with extra emphasis on the first syllable. Over time, you'll be able to say it more naturally. Word stress might seem like a small detail, but it makes a big difference in how natural your English sounds. So, take the time to practice it, and you'll see a huge improvement in your pronunciation. Part 5. Sentence stress and intonation. Now that we've covered word stress, let's move on to sentence stress and intonation. Just like individual words have stressed syllables, sentences have stressed words. These are the words that carry the most meaning, and they're usually nouns, verbs, adjectives, and adverbs. For example, in the sentence, I went to the store, the stressed words are went and store. The other words, like I and to the, are softer and quicker. This pattern of stress helps listeners understand the main points of what you're saying. Intonation, or the rise and fall of your voice, is also important. In English, we use rising intonation for yes/no questions, like, are you coming? And falling intonation for statements, like, I'm coming. Using the wrong intonation can make your sentences sound unnatural or confusing. To practice sentence stress, try reading sentences out loud and emphasizing the key words. For example, say, I love learning English, or she's going to the park. Pay attention to how your voice rises and falls, and try to mimic the patterns you hear in native speakers. Another great exercise is to record yourself speaking and listen back. Compare your pronunciation to a native speaker's and identify areas where you can improve. This might feel a bit awkward at first, but it's a powerful way to track your progress. Remember, sentence stress and intonation are what make your English sound natural and fluent. So, take the time to practice them, and you'll notice a big difference in how you sound. Part 6. Common pronunciation mistakes. Even with all the tips we've covered so far, it's easy to fall into common pronunciation traps. Let's take a look at some of the most common mistakes beginners make and how to avoid them. One common mistake is pronouncing silent letters. English has a lot of silent letters, like the K in knee or the V in lamb. If you pronounce these letters, it can make your speech sound unnatural. The best way to avoid this is to memorize common words with silent letters and practice saying them correctly. Another mistake is mispronouncing similar sounding words, like beach and bitch or sheet and shit. These words might sound similar, but they have very different meanings. To avoid confusion, practice saying these pairs out loud and pay attention to the subtle differences in pronunciation. Many learners also struggle with linking sounds between words. In English, we often connect the end of one word to the beginning of the next, like I am, becoming, I'm. This can make speech sound smoother and more natural. Practice saying phrases like cup of tea or not at all with link sounds. Finally, don't forget about rhythm. English has a specific rhythm that can be hard to master, especially if your native language has a different rhythm. Try listening to songs or poems in English to get a feel for the rhythm and practice speaking along with them. By being aware of these common mistakes, you can avoid them and improve your pronunciation faster. Remember, everyone makes mistakes when learning a new language. It's all part of the process. Part 7. Practice techniques. Now that we've covered the basics, let's talk about some practical techniques you can use to improve your pronunciation. The key is to practice consistently and make it a part of your daily routine. One of the best ways to practice is by shadowing. This involves listening to a native speaker and repeating what they say as closely as possible. You can use podcasts, videos, or even audiobooks for this. The goal is to mimic the speaker's pronunciation, rhythm, and intonation. Another great technique is to use tongue twisters. These are phrases that are difficult to say quickly, like, she sells seashells by the seashore. Tongue twisters are a fun way to practice specific sounds and improve your fluency. You can also practice reading out loud. Choose a book, article, or even a script and read it aloud. Pay attention to your pronunciation, stress, and intonation, and try to make it sound as natural as possible. Don't forget to record yourself speaking. This might feel awkward at first, but it's a great way to identify areas where you can improve. Compare your recording to a native speaker's and make adjustments as needed. Finally, practice speaking with others. Whether it's a language partner, a teacher, or a friend, speaking with others will help you apply what you've learned and build confidence. Remember, practice makes perfect. The more you practice, the more natural your pronunciation will become. So, make it a habit to practice every day, even if it's just for a few minutes. Part 8. This is quiz time. Before we wrap up, let's test what you've learned with a quick quiz. I'll ask 5 questions, and you can write your answers in the comment box below. Ready? Let's go.
Question number 1. What's the difference between the vowel sounds in ship and sheep? Question number 2. How do you make the TH sound in words like think and this? Question number 3. Which syllable is stressed in the word photography? Question number 4. What's the intonation pattern for yes/no questions in English? Question number 5. Can you name one common English word with a silent letter? Take your time to answer, and don't forget to check the comments to see how others did. This is a great way to reinforce what you've learned and connect with other learners. Now let's move on to the final part of today's episode, our conclusion and some final tips.
Part 9, Conclusion and Final Tips. And that's a wrap on today's episode. We've covered a lot of ground, from listening and vowel sounds to word stress and common mistakes. I hope you found these tips helpful and feel more confident about your English pronunciation. Before we go, here are a few final tips to keep in mind. First, be patient with yourself. Pronunciation takes time and practice, so don't get discouraged if you don't see immediate results. Second, make pronunciation practice a part of your daily routine. Even 10 minutes a day can make a big difference. Finally, don't be afraid to make mistakes. Every mistake is an opportunity to learn and improve. The more you practice, the better you'll get. So keep practicing, keep learning, and most importantly, keep having fun with English. Thank you so much for tuning into Learning English with Podcast. If you enjoyed this episode, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe for more tips and lessons. And if you have any questions or topics you'd like us to cover, leave a comment below. Until next time, happy learning, and I'll see you in the next episode.